All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start our program in about 5 minutes. Just another reminder, if you haven't had something to eat yet, please feel free to help yourself. We have chili and rice located over in the concession stand area just out the north entrance of the gymnasium. We also have bottles of water out there. It's okay to bring it in here and sit down and have it to eat and drink while you're part of the program. So, again, we're going to start in about another 5 minutes. Mahalo. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to start our program here in about another 30 seconds. We want to ask that everyone please take your seat at this time. Again, we're going to start our program now. Please take your seat at this time. If anybody happens to be looking for the restrooms are just opposite of the gym, across from the stage area. Women's on stage left, men's on stage right. Again, please take your seats at this time as we welcome to the stage.
Aloha, everyone. We're going to start soon. A little bit of housekeeping. If you can turn your phone ringers off. The bathrooms are in the back. Aloha kako. It's so nice to see all of you here, all of Lāhainā. I'm so happy you all made it. I'm Lori Leitigama, and I will be helping with the program tonight. As someone from Lāhainā whose family lost our home and a loved one, I know how we've all been hunting down information, not sure where to go and what to expect. So I'm looking forward to the updates we're getting tonight as well as you are. We have a full program tonight, but before we start, we will welcome Kumu Hokulani Holt to bless our gathering with a pule. We will also have a moment of silence afterwards to remember those from our community who we have lost.
Okay, Lori Lei, I'm not going to make you a liar, but I'm not going to pray. What is she going to do then? I'm going to share with you Olelo No'eo, or wise sayings from our kupuna, or our ancestors that have come down to us to this very day. Many, many of them have to do with working together, joining together, and moving forward. One that I would like to share with you is called Pupukahi Iholomua, which means join together to move forward. Another one that we have, and I'd like to share with you, is a Kua Hui Like Ikahana, which means let us join together and work together. So this gathering, I believe, is in the spirit of those two Olelo No'eo, as we want to come together, join together, and move forward. So let's take a moment of silence as we turn our attention to the screen.
Everyone can please be seated. I'm so happy the mayor put together tonight's gathering. We've had so much happen to our community, and whenever we have information, it helps us figure things out more for ourselves and our families and businesses. We especially wanted to know about the things being shared tonight. What happens with housing for us? How do we get back to our properties? And what can we expect coming up? Depending on your circumstances, some of the updates may not be all for you. But take the information that can help you and your family. Tonight is being broadcasted live on Akaku and on the Maui County's Facebook and Instagram page. There's a lot to go over tonight. There has been a lot of smaller gatherings these past few weeks around our community with good information and discussions. But it's important we keep the information available as much as we can, including at the big gathering like tonight's one. Tonight will not be the only time we'll get together this way. Everyone's time is valuable. So to get us done at a decent hour, speakers will be available after. Should you have any questions, you can meet them directly. There's also a place here tonight, back in this area, and that's where you can give your family's questions or anything you feel is a priority for this whole disaster that's going on. And of course, most of you know, every day the Disaster Recovery Center is operating right here in the Civic Center from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. I'd like to bring up Mayor Rick Bissen before we get to our invited speakers and their updates. Please welcome Mayor Rick Bissen.
Aloha pumehana kākou. So I just wanted to add to what you just witnessed. Our deepest condolences to all of you who recognize your friends or family that we showed tonight. Of course, it's for them, and for that reason, that we know we will use everything in our power and all of our collective mana'o and wisdom to make sure this never happens again. I just wanted to say a couple of things before we introduce the important people, which is the advisory team, our new manager of the Office of Recovery, and our speakers. Just by way of introduction, my grandfather is Alfred Nakoa from Kahakuloa. My grandmother, Violet Ho'okano, comes from Pihana, Maui. My father, or my mother, is Edna Nakoa Bisson. My father was Richard Bissen. His father, Thomas Bissen, is from Paia, and his mother, Esther Pahukoa, is from Keanai. My wife and I have 3 daughters. We have 3 grandsons. We're from Kahului. I wanted you to know that so that you know that we share in all of the heartache that's happening to everybody here. We are a longtime Kama'aina family, like many of you. In fact, I want to touch on something real quick. Some of you may know or may have worked with my mother for the 17 years she worked at the Pioneer Inn. With Uncle John Delatorre, Uncle Sam Puhala, Auntie Katie Nahina, Auntie Ardell Kaupuiki, Auntie Joan Farron, Auntie Harumi, several of those folks all became our family over the years. Our goal tonight is to get information to you so you can stabilize what has been an uncertain period filled with anxiety. We know you're concerned about the announcement of the state opening Lāhainā on October 8th. We want to get you direct information about that. But the reason we put the advisory team together is so that we could plan that. We on Maui plan that. We in Lahaina. I have to tell you about this advisory team. They do not have a seat at the table. They sit at the head of the table. And they will be the ones that will guide us going forward. And that's a commitment I make to each of you tonight and here. Thank you. I should have acknowledged, by the way, Enti Hokulani. Thank you for giving us those olelo no'eau tonight, which we're going to take as a pule. Follow that. Thank you. I also have some of our guests that are here tonight. We have Speaker of the House, Scott Saiki, who is here with us tonight, as well as Governor's Liaison, Leon Bolosan, and the Chair of the County Council, Alice Lee, and of course our upcountry Kula representative on the County Council, Yukile Sugimura. Thank you folks for all making it here to be with us today. So we know over the past 6 weeks, we have witnessed every kind of kindness from everyone around, not just Maui, the state of Hawaii, but in fact around the world. So again, our thanks to all of the kāko'o and the kokua that has come from all of our families, neighbors, businesses, nonprofits, churches, everyone. The outpouring has been as unprecedented as the crisis that has happened and the tragedy. All of the community hubs, I want to thank all the leaders from this community for all of the hubs and the distribution centers that have come up, big and small. Thank you so very much for all of that work that's happened. Yes, thank you. Lots of you out here represented and are still doing the work now. So our advisory team, these are generational, lifelong residents, parents, business leaders, community leaders, people who are of Lahaina. They will present for us at the county that perspective that we so much will rely on and that we need. Again, I'd like to first note that Kaliko Storer is not here tonight. She is off island. And again, no particular order, Mr. Archie Kalepa, who is with us here. Many of you know Archie. Of course, generational Lahaina resident. Mr. Rick Nava is also with us here tonight. Also, Lahaina Luna graduates, business. Many of you know Rick from the years he's been on West Maui Taxpayers Association. Mr. Kim Ball, who sits here, you guys all know him as Coach Ball. You Lahaina Luna folks of our Lahaina and high-tech stores. And of course, our mistress of ceremonies tonight, Miss Lori DeGama, also from Lahaina PTSA. And I don't need to tell you folks how valuable they are to your community and now to the county. So again, as Lori already mentioned, we're going to get right to the speakers very shortly so they can talk to you about all the things, hopefully, that will answer many of the questions you have. I just want to repeat what the governor said yesterday. No one is going to go without a place to live on October 8th. No one. Everyone is going to have housing. Some of that housing may change depending on your eligibility, and again, we'll describe that in more detail. So please, if you leave with no other message tonight, October 8th has nothing to do with everyone's housing. All right? So let's just let's clear that up. And also, this week, I wanted to introduce another person to you folks tonight. He will be the manager of the Office of Recovery. This is Josiah Nishita, who's sitting here in the front row. Josiah will be speaking to you a little later. And many, many agencies, again, if you hold on to your questions, hopefully they'll be answered by the panel or the folks that will be speaking tonight. And Josiah is going to mention some good news about some things that are happening starting tomorrow here. I also wanted to recognize and thank the Hawaii Community Foundation for the Maui Strong Fund that they've started. Micah Kane, who sits here today, also is in here with his team. So please thank you to them for all the support that they're getting for us as we go forward. And finally, I did want us to recognize all of our first responders, all of our firefighters, our police officers, all of our paramedics. Yeah, they deserve the biggest applause. And the lifeguards as well. Extra clap. That was a special from Archie Kalepa. Yeah, you guys want to stand up and for them? Sure, that's nice. Yeah, let's make sure we thank them. I'm going to have Lori come back upstairs. Lori.
You have the advisory come up? I'd like the advisory team members to please come up on stage and do a little introduction on yourselves. I will start first. My name is Lori Digama. My family had a Front Street store business called Hapo Store where my grandparents, mom, and uncle ran for many years. I later on opened Noko Oi Deli with my husband, Elton Digama Jr. I'm born and raised in Lāhainā. I am a Lāhainā Luna graduate as well. I am also PTSA president at the school currently. At this time, I'd like to bring up Archie Kalepa, Kim Ball, and Rick Nava. Go ahead and come wait on the side here.
Aloha, everyone. I'm going to give you a little background about my connection to Lāhainā. I'm 9+ generations from Lāhainā. I never told anybody this, but I just found this out during our family genealogy. In the Napepa, Poholopu, who was my great-great-great-great-grandfather, was the first Kunuhiki of Lāhainā, appointed by Kamehameha I. Reading in the Napepa, he was the first to harvest and feed the people of Lāhainā. I didn't truly understand from the day this disaster happened and the role that was bestowed upon me for the people of Lāhainā. Most important, my grandfather, Dallas Kalepa, ran the armory in Lāhainā. On my dad's side, my grandfather, Frank Silva, was a fire captain in Lāhainā. I graduated from Lāhainā Luna High School in 1982 as a boarder. My family roots is here. I was born in Maui. My father served in the military, so we had to move. I left Lāhainā when I was about 6 years old. I came back every summer and I cried when I had to leave. As soon as I was old enough to go on my own, I told my parents I'm going to Lāhainā Luna. I did. I graduated in 1982. My first job, right after graduation, I started a day after graduation. I lived in my car and I worked construction. My dad told me, you cannot live with family. You have to do this on your own. And I did. My dad told me that my brother said, oh, Archie's selling mangoes on the side of the road. He's living in his car. That's how much I love Lāhainā. My dad gave me the strength to do it on your own. I started working for the Parks Department as a park caretaker at Maulele Park. I was soon asked to join the lifeguard department. In 1987, I became a lifeguard. In 1999, I took over the lifeguard department. During that process in 1992, I don't know if you guys were here during Hurricane Iniki, but I went out and saved 12 people and a dog. I was part of the team that revolutionized the jet ski for rescue. People laughed. People laughed and said, you're going to take these jets, what are you going to do? You're going to go around the world and putt and save the world? Literally, that's what happened. Today, the jet ski and its use in rescue operations has revolutionized the world when it comes to ocean rescue. That takes courage. I will promise you this. While sitting on this committee and this board, I will do what is best for the people of Lahaina. You come first. But we all have to realize we have to put others before us. So I want you to think long and hard about how we rebuild Lahaina and put personal gain aside and think about how we will rebuild Lahaina for the next 5 generations and beyond. That will be hard, but this is the easiest path to doing that right now because we have nothing. It's all gone. So we have one chance. We have one chance to get this right. I know we can do this. I, like all the others serving on this board, promise you we'll give it our best shot. Thank you.
Aloha. I didn't realize that I'd have to publicly speak. Mayor never told me that. But I'm only 8 generations behind Archie Kalepa on the West Maui. My mother's from the Big Island, and she's 93 years old and always giving me advice. And she called me after the fire. She goes, "Hey, if I survive the tsunami of '46, you guys are going to be okay. You guys can rebuild." So she's always never short on giving me advice. I went up to wrestling practice at Lāhainā in 1980 just to help out. And then Bob Kawaguchi got a hold of me the next day and he goes, "Hey, I want you to be the co-head coach." I go, "Okay, that'll be 1 year." Well, it lasted 40 years on and off. You can't say no to Bob Kawaguchi. But my three boys were born and raised here. King Kamehameha 3rd Elementary, Lāhainā Intermediate, Lāhainā High School. And one of my sons, Blake's in the audience tonight. His house burned too, and he's teaching at Lāhainā Intermediate now as a math teacher. So I appreciate the trust and responsibility that the mayor has given each and every one of us, and I'll try to do my best to serve you. And believe me, if you know me or contact me or have any concerns, please get a hold of me. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. I guess I'm the last speaker here, so I can speak as long as I want to. Just to let you guys know, Archie and I, actually, we go to the same hairstylist. So come on. Oh, so is Micah over here. Anyway, I am Rick Nava. First of all, aloha. Our deepest condolences to all of our friends who lost their loved ones. So our prayers are all with you. Again, my name is Rick Nava. I was actually born in the Philippines. I was going to speak to you in Ilocano, but I understand she can speak Ilocano, so we'll be in trouble here. I am a Lāhainā graduate of 1976. Right after graduation, I joined the military, where I served for 29 years. When I returned in 1980, I was actually very involved with our youth until one day, with all the kids that I was playing with, I was trying to coach. I actually got a call from Magic Johnson and said, "Rick, can you put a team together?" So we played against Magic Johnson. I don't know if you recall that, in 1992. My instruction at the time to my players were, do not ask for his autograph while guarding him, and leave your camera behind. The basketball thing actually took me to a lot of places, but that kind of like teach me about serving the community. Until today, I still see some of the kids, when they see me, you know, you taught me a lot about basketball, sportsmanship, teamwork. Also, several years ago, I was actually the chairman of the board for the Maui Chamber of Commerce. To me, that was such an honor to do that. Also, I served as a president for the West Maui Taxpayer Association. For those of you who do not know what the West Maui Taxpayer, we're actually the organization that helped build the Napili Fire Station. Mr. Cameron donated that land, and we at the West Maui Taxpayer built that fire station. It was a turnover key. We then donated that to the county with, by then, Mayor Linda Lingo. I've also served with the Rotary Club of Lāhainā since 1993. I was a president 3 times. The first 2 times I did such a lousy job, they asked me if I could do it again. And I did it. I lost my home as well. You know, I've shared the story, how close we were to losing our family. But we made it. And again, for those of you who lost their loved ones, we're very, again, my mother-in-law, who's 92 years old, we made sure that she was in the car. My 2 grandsons made sure we were in the car, and we were able to get out of there with maybe a minute left when we saw our house burning. But we're here today. Today I actually heard for the first time ever, Josiah, thank you for the word. He told me, were you a volunteer or you were a voluntold? So I said, you know what? Lāhainā is my town. Lāhainā actually is the heart of the county of Maui. We here in Lāhainā right now bring so much to the county, and everyone is looking at us. The whole world is looking at us. And for me to be here tonight, like Archie said, you know, I am here to serve, to make sure that we do the best job in serving the community. I've served in the military for 29 years, so I know what it takes to dedicate our time to make sure that we are doing the right thing. Again, Mayor, thank you for allowing us to serve in your advisory committee. We did not realize that we will be on the head of the table, but thank you for that. Again, thank you everyone for joining us this evening. Mahalo, aloha.
The 5th member is Kaliko Storer, who is not able to be here tonight. And so that is your 5th member on this advisory board. At this time, the mayor mentioned the Office of Recovery, and tonight we get a chance to meet Josiah Nishita, who will lead that office. Please welcome Josiah.
Aloha, everyone, and thank you for the introduction. My name is Josiah Nishita, Maui boy, born and raised. I've been working for many years for the county now, and most recently as its deputy managing director. As Mayor mentioned, some good news for our Lāhainā community as part of the recovery efforts, of course, is really restoring our public assets and public trust back to the Lāhainā community out here. And starting tomorrow at 8 a.m., Laniopoko Beach Park will be reopened, given back to the community out here for your use. So I have been asked to lead the recovery efforts for the monumental mission that's before us. For the county and our West Maui community, there may be no greater community-led effort and work in our lifetimes than what we will all be embarking on together. The significance and ramifications of the decisions that this community will make for all of your homes will undoubtedly impact generations to come, and thus the amount of effort, resources, cooperation, and coordination amongst all of us here at every level must rise up to meet the occasion. Our job will be to listen, to learn, and to assist in the implementation of your community's vision for Lāhainā. Most of my early memories as a kid really involves and revolves around helping or serving others with my family. Regardless of what was going on in our family's life, no matter our financial situation, housing insecurity, or how convenient or inconvenient it was. Putting others above ourselves was really built into me by my family, and I'm sure with all of you as well. No task was ever too big or too small to be asked. And what really has been so inspiring to me throughout all of the significant loss that this community has experienced is really witnessing firsthand so many examples of selflessness and genuine care for each other. Really, River Aloha is alive and well in this community, and nothing can break that. I know that each of us on our own can have a very good contribution and a little piece of the puzzle, but together, really, our efforts is to do this as a community, and we can do incredible things together. Finally, before I conclude, we'd like to encourage each of you to visit the Disaster Recovery Center here at Lāhainā Civic Center to tap into the many resources and personnel that are available that can give you the individualized attention that you may need for your specific situation. Our website, mauirecovers.org, also is a great resource for you to receive up-to-date information, various resources that are available, such as financial and housing assistance, reentry updates, maps, data, safety information, and frequently asked questions. And one particular area to note for the rest of our discussion today is the recovery phase portion, which outlines the phase of recovery we're in now and the next phase ahead. So our next speakers will dive into more detail into each phase, but we really appreciate the time that you are all spending today here with us, and we're looking forward to working with all of you in the coming days ahead. Thank you.
Okay, next. There have been concerns about air quality and conditions in the area, so we're pleased to welcome the Director of the State of Department of Health, Dr. Kenneth Fink, tonight to offer information to help us understand how the air is monitored, especially as we begin to get access to re-enter our neighborhoods. Please welcome Dr. Kenneth Fink.
Aloha kako. First, I'd like to begin by recognizing you, the community. You're the ones who have shown the greatest effort in this response. It is through the community that we will see resiliency. It's where it will come from. It will come from you. And as the Department of Health, our response has depended incredibly on the community. We are grateful for the partnerships we have received through all of the mental health care, behavioral health care, and all the other supports that has largely come from this community and also the broader community within the state. It has been a kako effort for sure, and we're grateful for all of your help. I was asked today to talk about the air quality and the hazard advisory regarding the return to the affected area. Now, the hazards that we have, based on other wildfires of similar materials and similar temperature, we can expect what we would find in the ash. And those include hazards such as lead, asbestos, arsenic, these compounds called polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs, dioxins, particulate matters, and other hazardous substances. What's important to know is that the ash should be treated as hazardous material. These hazards can cause health conditions such as cancer, lung problems, and other health issues. The risk is associated with what the actual concentrations are and how much exposure you have to it. We are working on sampling the ash, and samples have been collected in Kula. And once the EPA completes their Phase 1 clearance in Lāhainā, we will also collect ash samples throughout Lāhainā so we can know exactly what's in the ash here and at what concentrations. But it is important to know that those can change even in areas very close to each other based on what the materials were that were burned. The best way to remain safe is to minimize exposure to the ash, and if you have exposure, to wear proper protective equipment. Now, the hazards that are in the ash, right, they're not free floating. So where we've done air sampling so far, the EPA has done that collection, and the results are reassuring. So we're not seeing toxic materials floating in the air. Okay? The toxins are in the ash. They're heavy metals, they're sticky substances, and they stick to the particulate matter, which is the ash. So again, the air is okay until or unless the ash gets disturbed and gets airborne. So that's the concern. So the risk so far in the air has been low. And there are air quality monitors that are posted throughout the area, and they're live streamed online, and the quality has been good. And the air quality tests that the EPA did, those results were very, very reassuring. As there's re-entry, we expect that there may be disturbance to the ash, and then the ash would get in the air, and that's the concern. So it's extremely important for people as they enter the impacted zone and potentially get exposed to areas where there were ash or there's disturbed ash to take measures to protect themselves. Okay? Now, how can we be exposed to ash? We can get it through our skin and our eyes. Okay? We could get it on our hands and touch food and get it in our mouths, called ingestion, or we can breathe it in. So when we look at protecting ourselves, it's covering our skin, goggles to cover our eyes, right? A mask to cover our mouth, and then to make sure when we leave the area, we properly dispose of the potentially contaminated, overalls and equipment, and then we kind of wash our hands and shampoo and get any remnants off of us so we don't track it away from the site. So those are the measures that we can take to make the return safely. But again, to the extent that we can minimize disturbance of the ash, the less risk there will be. Now, I mentioned the air monitoring, and again, the air has had good quality, and we should feel reassured about the information we have so far regarding the air. But I want to tell you a little bit more about those air monitors. Right now, we have two kinds of air monitors that are set up. One is called the EBAM, this Environmental Beta Attenuation Mass Monitor. It's easier to call it EBAM. And that is a regulatory air monitor that monitors particulate matter. Why do we look at particulate matter? Okay, because the concern is the ash. And if the ash gets airborne, it is the particulate that we're concerned about because it's an indicator that those toxins are with it. Those toxins are not going to get in the air without having the particulate matter. So we screen for the toxins by monitoring particulate matter. We call it PM. The EBAM monitors PM on a continuous basis, and again, you can see those metrics on that website. These other monitors are called the purple air monitors. Okay? They're not considered regulatory, so they may not be quite as accurate as the EBAM. But the research has shown they actually correlate really well. And where they aren't as accurate, they overread the level of the particulate matter in the air, which means that they would be more likely to tell you there's particulate matter than the EBAM right now. Okay? So whether you want to call it a false positive. So the take-home message is those purple air monitors will be very helpful in screening if there's particulate matter in the air or if there's potentially ash in the air, which could pose a risk. If there's not particulate matter in the air, if those monitors remain green, that's very reassuring that the air is safe. We're in the process right now of receiving additional EBAMs. 4 are expected to arrive on Monday, and we're currently in the process of obtaining an additional 70 of these purple air monitors. So we will widely distribute the purple air monitors around the impacted zones, around the schools, and other key areas. They will be critical for screening should the air quality change. And it should be very, very reassuring to know that they're up there. Okay? I think one of the slides there shows what a purple air monitor looks like and what an EBAM looks like. You may see them around, and as we put more of them up, you may see more of them. And there's another slide that also shows the current locations of where those devices are. Okay. So as I conclude my part, treat the ash as hazardous. Please use proper personal protective equipment. If worn properly and disposed of properly, it will help keep you safe in your return. To the extent that you can, try to minimize ash disturbance. I know that there will be more information to help people as they return with that, as return to their sites. Returning to the sites can also be very emotional, and I think John Oliver will speak later tonight about some of the supports that are available to support people from an emotional and behavioral health perspective during this process. So thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight, share information, and we'll be available if there are questions later. Mahalo.
Like many of you, my family lost our home as well as a loved one in the fire. And I know that we've been paying attention to what will happen with the removal of the hazardous materials. EPA workers have been going through Lāhainā inspecting, and they were asked to be here tonight to talk about their work and what's involved. Please welcome Steve Calanog from the EPA.
Aloha. Good afternoon. As Lori said, my name is Steve Calanog. I'm with the U.S. EPA. I'm leading the Phase 1 hazardous materials removal. Just to give you a little background, we've on the continent, on the mainland, we unfortunately are having to respond to post-fire incidents every year now. And I've been doing this for the past 15 years on the West Coast. When this incident happened, I knew we were going to be called out to help, but I knew that things were going to be different. And that was in large part due to the rich historic and cultural significance of Lāhainā. And early on, within the first week we were here, we reached out to Auntie Hokalani, Auntie Makalapua, Uncle Keomoku to advise us on the best way to implement our program in Lāhainā and on Maui. And they've been a tremendous asset to our team. I would want to point out that as a result of their advice and consultation, of our team of 200, approximately 50% of our field teams are made up of Lāhainā residents or folks from Maui. So this is truly a Maui Lāhainā response due to the representation of folks from your community. What EPA and our team are collecting is hazardous materials, and you may ask what are hazardous materials on my parcel. Those include things like compressed gas cylinders, fuel tanks, chemical containers, pesticides, fertilizers. Many of the homes here had solar power, and the battery storage, lithium-ion battery power walls were damaged, and those become hazardous materials, and we are removing them. As of today, we are 50% done. Thank you. I know you all have a lot of questions about your individual property. I brought with a large part of my team here tonight. We have 2 tables set up with colleagues who are going to be able to answer questions about your specific parcel if you should have them. And we are always available to talk to you over the phone or in person after this evening as well. And I encourage you to reach out. I don't want to take too much more time. We still have a lot of work to do, but we are proud and honored to serve your community. So with that, I say mahalo and aloha.
Okay. Next up, we have Daryl Oliveira. He heads the county's interim emergency management agency. He came to Maui a few weeks ago to help out. He's from Hilo, a retired fire chief and a former head of the Big Island's emergency management agency during Hurricane Iselle and the lava flow disasters. The county will start to give residents access into restricted areas zone by zone as the different zone gets safety clearances. Daryl will also talk a little bit about the re-entry process. Please welcome Daryl Oliveira.
Aloha and good evening. It truly is an honor to be here to serve and support you in your community. When the mayor asked me to consider coming over and assisting, I took it as truly an honor and a privilege, because as all of us were watching things unfold on the media, our hearts went out to all of you. So again, thank you for being patient, for having patience with me transitioning in. And again, I look forward to continue working with all of you in the community as we move forward. I want to also say thank you for the opportunity to share some information about our re-entry plan, which you may ask, what is re-entry? It's the phase of a larger plan of returning to Lāhainā that begins with first the EPA conducting their phase 1 hazardous materials removal, and then us working with all of you residents who are displaced and getting you back to your properties, back to your homes, and doing it with the first and foremost safety in mind. Secondly, all of our plans, and as you heard from Steve with the EPA, all of us working together are doing this with the utmost respect for cultural practices and procedures and protocols, as well as respect for our cultural resources. We also want to emphasize that we're doing this with the highest respect and appreciation for your personal property and your personal effects. And lastly, I would like to say, as part of our plan, we always want to be communicating effectively to you so you understand what we're doing, why we're doing it, with, again, the first and foremost at the top is your safety in mind. As I mentioned, re-entry is the process where we'll be escorting and assisting property owners back to their properties and homes in the Lāhainā area, the impact area. Our goal and intent is to support you with your healing, your closure, getting back to your property to take care of what you may need to take care of as far as insurance claims, and maybe accessing other resources, financial assistance with your recovery. So again, we want to support you. How we're going to do that is working with our partners, is escort you out to your properties, doing it by zones. And when I say zones, we've used a map, which I'll bring up shortly, that's on the Maui Recovers website. But we created these zones that basically provide us with manageable sections that we can get all of you in very systematically and safely. We're going to do our best to move as quickly as we can and cover as much area as I can, based on how quickly the EPA is moving, and get you to your properties as soon as possible. And we can't do this without our partners. We have so many federal, state, local government partners all coming together to make this happen. We also have a wide variety of non-government partners. But probably the biggest partner in all of this is all of you, the community. We will not be able to make this happen safely without your help. As I mentioned, we want to revisit and really stress our goal, and that is to support all of you with your healing. So we want to get you to your parcels, give you that privacy, give you that space and that opportunity to heal. As I mentioned, we're going to do things very safely. As was previously mentioned, we will have personal protective equipment that will be made available by our nonprofits who are working with us. In the event you need to access your property to maybe look for a personal effect or a memento or something that will help you with closure, we will support that. For those that may be missing or have unaccounted loved ones, which we may not ever recover and be able to provide you closure. As we get you to your parcels, if you'd like to collect some of the ash as part of that closure for you, we will assist you with that as well. Lastly, I would like to just bring up the map, if we could, that shows the zones. Because as previously been shared, we are going to start with Zone 1C, which is on the northern end of the community. As we identify those zones, we're going to communicate early so you will know in advance, and we'll work with you both here at the Lāhainā Civic Center as well as other locations with accessing passes. Because we want to make sure you as property owners or residents have uninterrupted, uninterfered access. We're not opening this up to the general public, to the media or anyone else. This is for you. This is for your healing process. We want to keep it private. We want to respect your personal space and your privacy. So we'll work with you. As I mentioned, we're opening up Zone 1C starting Monday, and we'll be opening up more zones in the future as we move along. We will communicate both on the Maui Recovers website as well as various media releases, and we'll make sure you're aware of when we open those zones. And again, I'll be around after the presentations this evening. If you have questions of me, be more than happy to answer. And again, thank you very much for your patience and assistance with this as we go forward. Thank you.
So, one of the important steps will be how we get help clearing out debris from the fire. The damages are really big and the work needs to be done correctly. The Army Corps of Engineers is leading that work. So tonight, we have Colonel Jess Curry to give an update. Colonel Curry is commander of the Army Corps of Engineers Recovery Field Office, supporting disaster recovery for Maui. Please welcome Colonel Jess Curry.
Well, thank you. As was stated, I'm Colonel Jess Curry, here for the Corps of Engineers. Up front, I just want to say how thankful I am for the opportunity to be here, and truly how humbled I am by what I see here amongst your community. The courage and love that I see here in the face of really tremendous loss and tragedy is something that is extremely humbling for myself and all those that are honored just to get to be among you and help with this recovery effort. I know there are many questions, and as was stated by others, I'll be here afterwards to answer those as long as it's necessary. But I did want to cover a few things while I have the time in front of you tonight. So a few weeks ago, the Corps of Engineers was selected to lead the efforts to remove the fire damaged debris from areas across Maui, those areas that were devastated by the fires. We especially recognize the gravity of the loss in Lahaina and Kula and the feeling of loss to the entire island, as well as the importance of ensuring the process of debris management is conducted safely and with respect to the families, communities, and multicultural history of the people of Maui. Our deepest condolences are extended to everyone impacted and your loved ones. As we move forward, we will work with our local state of FEMA, State of Hawaii, Maui County, in order to do this process the right way. We are committed to leveraging our core experience from previous fire debris removal missions, also leveraging all resources and outreach to help the communities heal and recover. And you can rest assured the work involving private property debris removal will not begin until the process is agreed upon by the leadership, the residents, and the business owners of Lahaina. A little bit about that process and what is most important as we anticipate that start. The Corps of Engineers remains dedicated to minimizing the risks to public safety and, again, respecting the people, culture, and environment of Hawaii. The cultural awareness of the impacted communities is a top priority, and we will be entrusting and empowering cultural monitors during the entire process to ensure we respect the community, culture, and recovery efforts. USACE is working with Lahaina-based community leaders, cultural leaders, Kapuna, and other statewide Native Hawaiian organizations to deliver cultural sensitivity and awareness training to all of our personnel and contractors executing this response, and we'll integrate that training with all that we work with as we proceed with this mission. Specifically about that mission, you've heard already from the EPA and others. Once given the go-ahead that the area is safe and free of those hazardous materials from the EPA, that they've completed their work and the residents have completed their visits and finalized right of entry agreements, that's when our work will begin. Cultural monitors will be in place at that time to oversee every step of removal of material and ensure that we are honoring your community, your culture, and your property. As we do that, it will likely be a phased approach similar to EPA's zones as they make their way through the city of Lāhainā, and will be critically following the rights of entry as those are worked to be gained and granted by the county. Getting those rights of entries quickly will help us plan how that process will move forward as we identify where each of those are located and further develop the strategy for doing this as quickly as we can, but also as respectfully as we can moving throughout the city. Specifically to those rights of entry, there will be an opportunity for homeowners, business owners to diagram your properties to indicate those sensitive areas or things that you are concerned about during the debris removal process. We as the Corps will, as I mentioned, entrust and empower those cultural monitors to ensure that they safeguard and protect against those things that are most important to you as we take on this important work. We expect that this work, as we get started, anticipate, could take 6 to 12 months. That's certainly dependent on many, many things, starting with those rights of entry, but also as we make our way through ensuring that we take the necessary time not to overlook the important steps to ensure we are step by step with what the community needs us to do as we make our way through this process. Those that are here from the Corps to help will be here tonight afterwards. You can see them in the red and white Corps of Engineers shirts. I will also be here. And as we make our way through, you will see myself, other uniformed members of the Corps of Engineers, but mostly those personnel from the Corps in red and white shirts to help answer questions, to guide, to ensure that you are comfortable with how we are proceeding. In the end, we are committed to maintaining your trust through this entire process. We know we must maintain your trust, and we'll take all steps necessary in order to do that. Again, thank you for the honor of getting to be among you as part of this important recovery effort, and for, again, sharing your aloha with us as we seek to spend our time here with you and to accomplish this together. Thank you.
Okay. Bob Fenton will be coming up next. Bob, FEMA's regional administrator, was appointed by President Biden to oversee the disaster response and speaks directly to President Biden a few times a week to give a report. We're all wondering about what happens for those who will need housing, whether you're in the hotels or someplace else for now. FEMA has a lot of services and programs they brought to us, including how to deal with interim housing needs. So please welcome Bob to give us an update.
Thanks. Well, thank you. Let me start out just by expressing everyone from FEMA's hearts and prayers to everyone that experienced in the community losses. We want to make sure we're here to do everything we can to help you through this. I've been with FEMA now for 26 years and was at the World Trade Center in New York during that event. I've been at plenty of fires in my career in California, Hurricane Katrina in Mississippi, and plenty of typhoons and cyclones in the Pacific. And one of the things I think that everyone is kind of talked about here is it really takes a coalition to respond to the aftermath and the recovery of events like this. It takes leadership at every level of government. Having the mayor and his leadership since day one that I've been here has been critical. The governor and his support, and then the president being here and the support of the whole federal government. My job is to coordinate that federal response. But it's much bigger than government. It's philanthropy, it's private sector, it's the nonprofits that are here. But most of all, as everyone says, it's really the community. And how do we ensure that we work together as a coalition, which is why I'm glad to see the advisory committee here to represent the community as we have those ongoing discussions. So let me just end before I start here with the beginning by just saying, I'm glad to be here. I will be here until the job gets done. We have an amazing team of public servants at FEMA, many of them off to the side here that as we have questions later on, we could ask you, you could stop by and ask us the questions you may have. So I think my first slide may be a cover slide. If I go to the next slide, I think a number of people have already talked about this, but this is one of 3 disaster recovery centers. And FEMA is doing many things here in supporting the coordination of many federal agencies to respond to your needs. But the most important part is the impact to you as individuals. And I want to talk to our programs that specifically relate to you, and specifically our individual assistance and housing programs. So first, if you haven't registered, hopefully you've seen this registration number. If you haven't, we want to put it up there so that you register. Also, our website is there. There's a FEMA app. And then 3 disaster recovery centers in Maui, one at the University of Maui, one here, and then also one at the community center at Tavers. So please come visit. Those centers are all open from 8 to 7 p.m. daily. And not only is FEMA there and all other state and local agencies, but a number of different private nonprofit organizations are there. So please stop by and get your questions answered. Next slide should be one that says types of assistance. And for individuals, there's many types of assistance we have, and it really depends whether you're a homeowner or a renter. And so I'm going to kind of go through this and try to make it as easy as possible because it is a little complex. And then I want to talk about what we're doing immediately right now to help those individuals that are displaced from their houses or rental properties. So we provide housing assistance and a number of other community service programs you see up there. And if you go to the next slide that says individual and households program, you can see a number of different types of assistance we provide, from lodging assistance immediately following the event to help with like hotel costs, to rental assistance, to repair replacement costs, to other direct housing programs that I'll talk about a little bit here. First, our max grant is $41,000. So the max direct grant is $41,000 to an individual or to an applicant, so to a household. And then there's also, in addition to those types of housing assistance, other assistance that an individual could be eligible for. Damage to personal property lost in the fire, transportation costs that you have, medical, dental, childcare, funeral expenses, many other miscellaneous expenses in there, to include things later on that maybe need to be done to clean and sanitize the area. So those are all different types of assistance that are available to you. Next slide. So some key dates, and I want to kind of dispel some rumors, and I think the mayor might have talked about it a little earlier. But one, the application period is a 60-day application period. So from the date the president declared the disaster, there's an application period that ends October 10th, 2023, which is why I want everyone to apply. And I want everyone to get their application in as soon as possible and urge you to do that. It can be extended, and we will look at, the governor and the mayor will make that decision based on have we gotten everyone to apply or not. But I urge you to apply now so we could quickly get you help and assistance. There's over $26 million that's gone out to individuals already from this event. So let me start with the housing. What we did is, in order to help everyone that was in, that were in shelters originally right after the fire, is we started a program to go ahead and put people into hotels, because there's a lot of hotel capacity that we could get to. The program for us is called non-congregate sheltering, but this is the program that we have over 7,000 people in hotels right now. And basically what it is it's an agreement between the state and the American Red Cross, funded by FEMA. So we're funding 90% of that cost right now for those in hotels. It also provides them not only hotels, but wraparound services and feeding and other case management services. And Red Cross will be up here in a little bit behind me to talk about their program and what they're doing. That program is, I could put people up in hotels up to 6 months from the date of declaration. So it should say up there, and I can't see the slide from the side, but it should say February 10th, if we're on the right slide, and is the date that program would end. Okay, so I could put people in hotels for 6 months. Now, a hotel is a much better place than in the gym, in the gym, on a cot. But what we really want to get you back to is back to where you were before, in an apartment or a house. So our program works to take advantage of what's temporarily available as we work with you toward that long-term solution. So what's next is getting you guys to a rental. We know that it's difficult to rent here in Hawaii. And so what we're doing is providing everyone that qualified for that program, individual homeowners that are uninsured, and renters, we're providing them rental assistance as part of that funding. The average amount of rental assistance has been about $3,500 on average, and that rental assistance is available for you to go ahead and rent something out in the community. And I'll talk a little bit more about that. Once you start renting, we can provide rental assistance. We initially provide for 2 months, and then we could go ahead and extend it on 3-month increments. So if you use it for 2 months to go rent something, and you come back and say, here's my receipt, I've rented, we will then give you 3 more months of rental assistance. That goes up to 18 months of rental assistance. So we'll help you rent something for 18 months. Then the other possibility is, because of limited rental, we're looking at potentially the federal government stepping in and leasing units. So I'm putting out a contract on Monday to start looking for units that I could rent and then sublease to individuals as renters. And so that will be going out, and that will help me look at maybe bigger types of facilities, like maybe big timeshares or rent whole units. Rather than renting one at a time, could I rent a big complex? The last thing is, if that doesn't work and we need more rental space and we still have people in the hotels, then we start looking at, can we provide some type of temporary facility? Back in the mainland, this would be a travel trailer or a mobile home. Obviously, there's no bridge that will get them here, so we need to go ahead and look at modular units and build that. We're looking at a number of sites right now that we would do that at, and looking at the infrastructure and how we would extend it and how we would provide those types of spaces. First, what I want to do is I want to take advantage of the rental assistance and provide rent and get you back into a rental. Second, if I have to go ahead and rent and sublease to you, we'll go ahead and go do that bridge. The most difficult thing in time is to actually build something. So I want to try to stay with the first two, and that's where we're putting a lot of our resources, while we're still running down the road of potentially having to build something temporarily. If I could get the next slide. Oh, you're one further than I am. So one of the things I'm doing to help those people that are in the hotels right now, for those survivors in the hotels that have received rental assistance, and I know it's difficult because one, where do you go find a rental property? Two, how do I have full first and last month's rent? How do I move into an apartment if I don't have furniture because I lost it in the event? So what we're doing is partnering with a bunch of private nonprofits, American Red Cross, United Way, Hawaii Community Foundation, and other agencies to build a network. So what we're doing is we're reaching out. If you're in the hotels right now, we're reaching out to you if you've received rental assistance, and we're helping to find locations that you can rent. We're working with you and the private nonprofits to help with first and last month's rent, and we're helping through the private nonprofits to provide furniture for that rental unit so that when you move in, you can move in and have some resources there at that rental property. So we're going to work with you directly. We've already started reaching out to those at the hotels that have received rental assistance, and we will look to work with you to go ahead and not only find those properties, but help you moving into those properties. And we can look not only on this island, but we can look at other islands here in Hawaii if needed to be. Next slide. This is just kind of my flow diagram. So if everything I've said so far is a little confusing because it's a lot, I'm just going to put it into a quick diagram of how things happen. The fire happened, which is number one, displaced many people here, either destroyed homes, some damaged homes. Some are evacuated from their homes because it's in that impacted area and they can't move in. You're eligible to apply to FEMA for assistance. Looking at those that are primary homeowners or renters, looking at those, if you have insurance, you should go to your insurance company and get insurance. So I'm really looking at those that are uninsured that don't have insurance. And I'm looking at those that were occupying that location at the time. Once you do that and you provide your insurance information if you had it, then what we do is look at your disaster losses, number 4. And we're looking at your disaster losses, whether you were completely destroyed, your house was completely destroyed, your rental was completely lost. And then what we do is we do an inspection of that property to validate your losses. And then we could look at what types of assistance you may need, that rental assistance, whether you're, in this case, an owner, repair replacement cost, other needs assistance cost that I talked about. In some cases at this point, the system's going to look at your information, you put it in there, and it's going to ask you to go ahead and do an SBA loan, okay? In order to get the other needs assistance, you have to fill out that SBA loan, even if you're not eligible. So make sure you fill it out. So if the system tells you, fill out an SBA loan, even if you don't want it, go ahead and fill it out. You don't have to take it. But you may be turned down by SBA. If you're turned down by SBA, then you could go and get the other needs assistance funding, which is important because that's for people who lost cars, which I think almost 4,000 cars lost, right? That's for people who had funeral costs. That's for other personal needs, medical, those kind of things. So make sure you don't just sit on that request to do the SBA loan. At that point, you'll receive a check direct deposited to your account from us. If you have questions, come back to one of the disaster recovery centers. That's just the beginning of assistance from FEMA. There's many other federal agencies that will be with you here for the long haul to continue to work with you. What FEMA does is immediately try to give you something, whether it's a hotel, whether it's rental, whether it's a temporary unit of some sort. What we want to do is provide you something in the interim until the other departments and agencies can work in the long term with you and the community to rebuild Lāhainā. And so what we do is provide that. There's also plenty of funding available through philanthropy and nonprofits. And Red Cross will talk right after me about some of the funding they provide to fill some of those gaps in there. I'm just going to repeat one thing said earlier, is for those that are in hotels, even if you're not eligible for FEMA assistance, Red Cross can assist you to stay in that hotel. So no one is out of the hotel come October 10th, or September 29th, I'm sorry, is the date they keep on hearing. Also, September 29th is a date that's 45 days after we started the program, where I need to have everyone register for FEMA assistance by that date. So if you haven't registered, I need you to register in order to be able to stay at the hotel. So that's what I'm trying to do, is get everyone to register. This weekend, Red Cross and FEMA will be going to those that have not registered and asking them to register for the hotel. As long as you're eligible in our program, regardless of whether you have us, what your amount that you've received from us are, you are eligible to stay in that hotel, and we'll continue to work with you to work on a better, longer-term solution to move you from a hotel to an apartment, something with maybe a kitchen or multiple bedrooms, those kind of things, to give you something better. So with that, our teams here will be glad to answer questions after this. I want to just end with, letting you know that we have an unbelievable team here that will make sure that we'll work with you and the community, not only on housing, but on rebuilding your infrastructure and everything else. And we will be here for years working with you on this event. So appreciate it, and thank you.
Okay, we are going to cover more on housing by the Red Cross, then water, and mental health. And also a reminder, there is chili and rice outside if you are hungry. You've seen their red vests all over the place. The Red Cross are here with staff and volunteers, and they're helping with temporary housing at the hotels. We have over 7,000 of our people being sheltered at over 40 hotels right now. With us tonight from the Red Cross Disaster Division is David Gutierrez to give an update on how long that arrangement is expected and what happens next. Please welcome David Gutierrez.
Thank you very much. Okay, good evening, everyone. So the American Red Cross has been working around the clock with partners to make sure that the individuals impacted by this disaster have the support that they need. Our primary focus at this time is to care for the 7,600 individuals that are in the non-congregate shelter hotels. We have more than 40 hotels that we have individuals living in right now. The support that we are providing includes making sure that there's nutritious meals every day, making sure there's health, mental health, and access to recovery services. The care that we're providing through our non-congregate sheltering program, known as the NCS program, will continue until all survivors have an appropriate housing solution. Our survivors in the NCS care who reside in Maui and whose home primarily was made uninhabitable will continue to receive shelter and will not be impacted by that end of safe harbor period, which is on September 29th, which was just previously mentioned. For those individuals who may be worried due to citizenship status, let me assure you, the American Red Cross is not a governmental agency, and as such, we are able to provide assistance to all, regardless of their citizenship or nationality. We also do not share or allow survivor information to be shared with immigration authorities. The date that we keep hearing is October 8th. I would also want to assure everyone that the nervousness around the October 8th reopening of Maui, there's a couple of points I want to make here. That date has no bearing on the continued non-congregate sheltering services to survivors, and at this time, the availability of hotel room is not a limiting factor. Red Cross shelter resident transition workers are available every day to help answer these questions and reassure those who may be anxious about their stay in the program. We also have a website, which is redcross.org/HIHelp, where survivors can find additional information and can set up time to speak to a Red Cross representative. I want to share also that since August 8th, the Red Cross in Hawaii has distributed over $10 million in direct immediate assistance to survivors of this disaster. The financial assistance has reached over 4,100 households, and we're not finished yet. Our shelter resident transition program will be providing additional financial assistance to families in the non-congregate sheltering care in the weeks and months to come. These funds will be tailored to meet specific recovery gaps that families may have, such as the need for additional rental assistance or transportation, or whatever the need might be in their road to recovery. Another phase of financial assistance will be open later in the fall. We call it bridge assistance, and that'll be available to those whose homes have been destroyed or made uninhabitable by the fire. This will be for those eligible, whether they are in our NCS care or not. So whether they're staying at a hotel, shelter, or somewhere else, they can still apply for that additional bridge assistance. To close with, the American Red Cross is working tirelessly with partners from the community and abroad to make sure that we're taking care of those impacted by this fire. And we're here for you, and we're not going anywhere. If you need help, please be in touch with a Red Cross worker and go to redcross.org/HIHelp. Thank you.
Okay. Water has also been top of mind for us, and we asked the director of the county's Department of Water Supply to give us an update. Please welcome John Stuffelbein.
Good evening, everybody. Aloha. Water is such an important issue and so personal to everybody, especially here in Hawaii. So we know this is something you want to hear about. And so the first message is that our water sources, the water sources for Lāhainā are a treatment plant and a couple of treatment plants and some wells. The water sources were not impacted by the fires. But what happens when the fire happens is that pipes in the distribution system are broken and open. And when the system is depressurized, contaminants from the fire, from the smoke and the ash, can enter the distribution system. And so that's the concern. So what we did is immediately after the fire, our crews were out securing the system so that we could repressurize it. They were out there the day after the fire, closing valves, shutting off the system so it wouldn't continue leaking. And then we determined where to draw the lines for the unsafe water advisory. And then it's a lot of testing and a lot of flushing for weeks and months it's going to take. The good news is that thus far, nothing in the distribution system has exceeded health limits. So that's good news. But the unsafe water advisory, it doesn't mean the water is contaminated. It means we need to test it before we can verify that it's clean. So the main message is, if you're in the unsafe water advisory area, follow the rules on the website. Don't drink, don't boil, and so on. If you're not in the unsafe water advisory area, your water's fine. There's no need to be concerned in those areas. So what we will be doing now is proceeding area by area through the unsafe water advisory area to clear areas by areas. And we're focusing first on Leali'i and the area south of the bypass, and then we'll be progressing through the rest of Lāhainā. Cannery Row in that area will be kind of the next focus as well. Our crews have been out sampling every day since the fire, both here and in Kula, and all of the results are posted on the website. So everything is completely out there. If you go to the website, you can see where all the samples were taken, and you can click on that, and it'll tell you all the results that have occurred. We are working to make that easier to understand, because it is fairly complicated to understand that sometimes. So I guess the main message is that we want to restore the water as quickly as possible. We want to make sure it's safe as quickly as possible, but we're not going to remove the water advisory until we're absolutely sure that it's safe. And that takes several rounds of testing. One round is not enough. We need to do several rounds. And finally, we have been getting a tremendous amount of help. We've been working every day with the State Department of Health and the United States Environmental Protection Agency and our staff as we develop how we're working through the different areas. In fact, the number one expert from the EPA from Cincinnati has been with us. He's actually in Maui right now, on Maui, helping us as well. So, my final message would be, it's going to take a while. So I'm sorry to say that. That's kind of the tough news. But this is a huge undertaking. In similar places, we've also had people visit us from the other fires. They came the next week from the fire in Paradise, the fire in Santa Rosa, the fire in Louisville, Colorado. And it took them a couple of years to get the system back in place on similar sized fires. So it's going to take a while. We're going to progress as quickly as we can, but we need to make sure the water's safe. So thank you.
All right, moving along. It's been a really hard time for many of us, and we're going through a lot. Up next is John Oliver from the Department of Health to share what we can do to help each other and ourselves. Please welcome John Oliver from Department of Health.
So, aloha. So, my name is John Oliver, and I'm the Service Area Administrator for the Behavioral Health Administration for Department of Health. So, my job primarily is to be the Maui Branch Chief and oversee mental health services for Maui, Molokai, and Lanai. So I guess the one message I really want to get across is that we're here to help. So as you can see in the picture, these are volunteers and staff both from the District Health Office as well as from the Maui Community Mental Health Center, as well as volunteers from the community who have all come together at the Lāhainā Comprehensive Health Center to provide needed medical and behavioral health services to our community members that have been impacted by the fires. So as you can see in the next slide, the West Maui health services that we have available are listed there, and these take place with a partnership between Malama Ikeola, the Hui Noka Olopono, Maui Optics, Maui Ola Pharmacy, Queens Medical, and other providers that are in the area. And we are working to establish a permanent site here to provide needed medical, dental, optical, and mental health and substance use services to the Lahaina community and the whole west side. The next slide just shows some pictures as far as our pharmacy services with Maui Ola Pharmacy, as well as dental work that's done. We also have insurance support, first aid, and wound care. Yes, the next slide shows mental health services, where we are working at our clinic at the Lāhainā Comprehensive Health Center, as well as mobile deployments to neighborhoods and parks, participating hotels, resource fairs, and in town and wherever needed, we go. So we are also trying to do community engagement activities at the different hotel shelters, and this is one example of those. These are actually our wellness carts, and this is just one example of the whole community coming together. So we have Queens Medical that's helping with quite a bit of the organization of this. But as you can see, Hawaiian Airlines, they donated approximately 20 to 25 of their beverage carts, which we use. And in working with the Maui Food Bank and Maui Gold, we are given fresh cut pineapple every day, in which we take in these carts and we go up and down the halls to do wellness checks. So we knock on the doors and we ask how they're doing, and we offer pineapple, which always, well, almost always, will get a smile. as we all have memories of pineapple, and it makes you feel good. And we give information about counseling, we talk story, and we just basically want to make sure everyone is doing all right as they're going through this transition and difficult time. So that brings me to the next slide, which is on the mental health guidance for reentry. So Department of Health does believe that the opportunity to visit one's home site may help to begin healing. And I guess I just wanted to also to say that reentering the impacted areas, it can be very difficult, both emotionally, and these feelings may occur in the moment or after your visit. So it's really important to recognize that you may feel profound sadness, anxiety, or even anger. And this is normal and understandable. And recognize that your own emotions are valid and they are never wrong. So give yourself space to do this and really give yourself some grace. And it can be very helpful to share your emotions with others. So we really recommend having someone with you there as a support person. And that's somebody, if it's a shoulder to cry on, or if it's someone to physically keep you up. It's just important to have that person there to support you in this journey. And we also really recommend giving yourself time to process your emotions after the visit. So I wouldn't recommend going to do it and then planning to go to a work shift, say in an hour. I would give yourself really time to grieve, to process, and to come to a better understanding from what you just experienced. And there will also be mental health support both at the site and at our clinic. And support groups will be available as well if you want to talk about what you experienced. And we're there for you. So the next slide. One thing that the Department of Health really recommends is that it's not recommended that parents bring their keiki on their initial visit. And this is for many reasons, but I mean, primarily it's because, as far as parents need an opportunity to grieve and process the visit by themselves, to really experience what you went through. And as a father of 2 keiki myself, I know that our tendency is always to think of our keiki first. So it's important that you aren't having to do that, but to focus on yourself and to really be in that moment and to experience it as you need to without having to worry about your keiki. And there could also be a traumatic impact on keiki, and I think that once you experience it yourself, you'll probably be in a better place to think about how you want to explain that to your keiki and how you want to, if you want to bring them back or if you want to approach it another way. And of course, I say don't bring your keiki, but that's unless your keiki is an adult. So, the next slide, it shows that our Child and Adolescent Mental Health Division has developed a little video as far as a video resource for reentry and mental health, and it's advice for families with keiki. And I definitely urge you, if you are thinking of bringing your keiki into the area, to watch this, and they will give you some tips and guidance, and as well as maybe some conversation starters and talking with your keiki about what happened in general and how to process. So with the next slide, as I said, you may feel profound sadness, fear, anger, anxiety, and other feelings that could cause you distress. And one thing that can result from that is isolating, which isolating after a difficult experience, it can be quite common. And it's usually related to feeling alone or maybe embarrassed about one's emotions, and that can sometimes make emotions worse. So I recommend, if you are a family member of somebody who experiences this or is experiencing different symptoms, to really encourage your loved one with kindness and gentleness. Make it known to your loved one that you are there for them and you're willing to talk when they want to. Don't force, but do encourage and always express unconditional support. The important thing now is really building resilience, both within yourself as well as within the community. And I think we all know that when the community comes together, expresses unconditional support, aloha, and kokua for one another, this helps everyone. And as one of my favorite sayings, but there is no way out but through. So, with the next slide, it is best to talk to a counselor or a therapist if one finds they are really struggling with their emotions related to the wildfires. And if you need help, or if you need any kind of guidance, or you just want to come by and talk story, we are at the Lāhainā Comprehensive Health Center, which is right below us here on Akoakoa Place, 7 days a week, and can be reached at the number up there. And if it's after hours, you can reach Hawaii Cares line at that 1-800 number, and you can be connected to a local person here in Hawaii that is able to help you with whatever your mental health needs are. So with the next slide, the services of mental health that we provide right now is mental health counseling, there's trauma processing, psychiatric services, and resource guidance. And we have counselors that are for the Maui community ready to talk story and work through your questions and concerns. And the next slide, it does list our in-person support centers. And as I said, it's on Akoakoa Place right below us, and as well as in Wailuku. So if you have family members that are impacted from upcountry or other areas, we are also providing services in Wailuku, the same as we are here in Lahaina. And so with that, I just want to leave you with a proverb that a good friend from Papa'ola Lakahi told me last night and reminded me of. And it goes like this: I am a wind-resisting a'ali'i plant, and no gust can push me over. To me, this embodies the strength and resilience of rebuilding one's life. The a'ali'i bush being so strong, standing so firmly planted in the ground that not even the strongest of winds could knock it over. And that is Lahaina. The people are resilient. The people will rebuild, and the people will recover. So mahalo. Good night.
All right, we made it. I want to mahalo all of you and our speakers. I'd like to ask Mayor Bissen to close our meeting and then ask everyone to join us in Hawaii Aloha. Please take home food. And in the words of Auntie Primrose Keahi, we love you all the world. We come from Lahaina.
So I just wanted to also add my thanks to everyone who was responsible for putting this event on tonight. If we can give a nice round of applause to everybody who set up all the chairs, got all the food. I did want to comment on some of what was said tonight to give you guys some feedback. So first of all, I was asked to comment on how long we think it would take for people to come back to their properties to rebuild. I think a fair estimate is 1.5 to 2 years. Just to give you that number, and let me tell you what I based some of that on. When we were going through the search and recovery part of this, we estimated 8 to 12 weeks is what it would take for us to go through that 5 square miles of Lahaina town. Originally, we started with one team of 90, and it ended up being 450 people out there. And I know you folks in Lahaina know, you saw some of these folks out there. It started with, I think, 9 dogs. It ended up with 43 cadaver dogs. What I'm trying to say is that went from an estimate of 8 to 12 weeks to 3 weeks. We've estimated 8 to 12 weeks is what it would take for EPA to go through all of that. They started with 3 teams. They have 9 teams working right now out there. They've done half already. So by just judging the estimates, the more people, I'm not going to speak for Army Corps of Engineers, how long that will take, but there are lots and lots of contractors and folks that want to help with the work. So my answer to you is it depends on how many crews we have working. The more crews we have, the more we can clear the areas and that will help. So this is just an estimate, but I don't see it happening earlier than that time frame. That's an idea, and I think you folks needed to have something to base your plans on. And of course, we want you to obviously stay and remain in Lahaina, knowing that. We also know that some of the concerns you folks had about reopening October 8th is you don't have childcare. You don't have the place you used to take your kids is no longer there. So how can you go back to work? So we recognize that, and we are working on that piece, in fact, with Hawaii Community Foundation and some of our other partners. So just understand, or just know that we understand that, and we're trying to help you with that if that affects any of you here. Our main goal in presenting tonight's speakers, and can we have one more round of applause for all these great speakers? What a great job everybody did. Awesome job, really. And they like doing this so much, they're going to do it again on Sunday from 3 to 5 p.m. out at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center Castle Theater. So if you want to come and you want to hana ho and see this again, you folks are welcome to come out. But those who couldn't make it tonight, and we know there are some events taking place tonight, some very personal family events, please let those families and friends of yours know to come on Sunday. It'll be the same speakers, but not going to be chili and rice. I was told that one going to be bento. So if you guys want to come to that event, there'll be other, we'll have a different menu. But seriously, please tell all of your friends and family who couldn't make it to come on Sunday if they want to get any of this information. And finally, I'll leave you with this. This is going to be a very heavy lift. If you didn't hear anything else from all the speakers, that's the constant theme that came through today. It's going to be a very heavy lift. And the work is lighter with many hands. So we're going to take all of us together to do this. Speaking of hands, Lori has asked me to have everybody, if you can, join hands, stand. We're going to end with Hawaii Aloha. And please take home some chili if you didn't have any, or if you just want to take some home back with you. Am I right? All right, we're going to get started. Yeah, just hold the person's hand next to you. Don't only make them big circle. We know it's kind of odd. And again, we still have our teams here to speak with you if you have any individual. E Hawaii.
Two. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you again so much for coming out tonight. Please make sure you get some chili, some bottles of water on the way out. Also, a friendly reminder, the program will be repeated on Sunday, 3 to 5 p.m. at the Maui Arts and Cultural Center. On behalf of each and every one of you and all of the service providers here tonight, please get home safely. Have a great evening, a great weekend, and aloha.